What's up? It's been a while. I guess welcome back if anybody watches. Um, so we're smack dab in the middle of the quarantine for the coronavirus or COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, or Rona as people are now starting to refer to it as, and that's I don't like that for some reason. There's COVID-19. It's short enough. Anyways, so it's been a while since I've posted a video, and I'm gonna show you what I've been up to. So, I've been doing several projects here in the shop. I've got 4, 5, 6 rigs going, something like that. We're going to start off with the first one here. So, SCX-10, well, more like a Rancho. It's, the mix between the Axial SCX-10 and the Axial Wraith. This is nothing special. This is just a fun little truck that I threw together. I wanted a Rancho, I guess. I wanted a Wraith-based SCX-10, a Wraith-axled SCX-10. But this one is slightly stretched. I made some custom links for the to move the rear axle back a little bit. But anyways, using a Traxxas Summit body from the 110 Traxxas Summit, since I've got like 4 or 5 bodies running around and only 2 Summits. It's nothing fancy. I did make a cutout here because I've actually got the RC 4-wheel drive Warn winch. This is not the normal, was it 9.5 winch? This is the slightly bigger one. It's got the dual motors. It's a nice winch. It's got quite a bit of power. I do have the RC 4-wheel drive snatch block. Got the little red hook there. I made a little chain here. I kind of got that. I got this idea from RC Sparks or Medic, Aaron Badochka, however you know him. Anyways, so Wraith axles. Nothing fancy. Just metal steering link. XP digital servo. Got it used. This one is a DS1015. It does pretty well. And yeah, I know the axle is clocked. It's hard to see. There you go. You can see the axle is clocked, but I do have my hubs clocked back all the way, so that way my steering is normal. I haven't actually taken it out on the trails yet. I just haven't gotten around to doing it. I've been out on the trail since the COVID thing happened. I think almost 2 weeks ago now. Me and my brother went out to local waterfall, and really there was really no one out there. We passed a couple of people, but we kept our distance at that time, which was all we were asked to do, was just keep our distance, 6 foot, whatever. So we usually kept at least a 6 foot, distance between me and, my brother and anybody else that was on the trails. But I didn't get a chance to take this one out. I took one of my other rigs out. I'll show you here in a minute. So, I've got stock wheels and tires off the Axial Bomber. These are 2.2 BF Goodrich licensed tires. They're nothing special. I like the size of them. They're a good size. Could be a better compound, but, it's whatever. Stock electronics. So I've got the AE5 there for the speed controller. Stock Axial motor. This came out of my Bomber. And then I ordered some SCX-10-2. I don't know what you call these, electronics mounts, or they're not the sliders, because I know these do have sliders that you bolt in there and there that you can adjust, but I don't have those because I didn't need them. So I'm just calling them electronics mounts, I guess. I do have them moved back a little bit. You can see there is a gap kind of right there where this is supposed to be more forward, but to help with the tire clearance, I moved them back just a hair. And I do have the axle forward just a touch, not a whole lot. You can see there, custom links on the bottom. These are actually Traxxas links for the Summit or E-Revo, E-Max. I don't remember which one. But they were just links, and that's what I used for my uppers, and they work fine. Wild bore drive shafts, nothing fancy. Wraith shocks, SCX-10-2 rear shock towers, so I could use... I already had an SCX-10-2 extended post because I used to have an SCX-10-2. I had the Cherokee when it first came out. I still have the Cherokee body, but I don't have the SCX-102 anymore. I don't like the 3-link with Panhard. I didn't like it a whole lot. So I know it's super easy to swap, but I sold it a long time ago as a slider without the electronics in it, and but I kept the body because the guy didn't want the body. Anyways, it is a little bit of a wiring mess because I do have lights up front as well as the winch. That is my winch controller. It is not waterproofed. I got to figure out how to do that, but it is a wireless receiver. I don't know if it's the I don't think it's the infrared because it does work with the little remote here. And I've currently got it because of how the winch is spooled. I don't know why, but you know, you would assume that the lock button here would be in and then this would be out, but it's reversed. So unlock is out, or in, sorry, unlocked is in, locked is out. It's whatever, I guess. I just have that stuck there. It does have a little hook. You can see it right there on the lights. This does have lights on top, but I don't plug them in because they're really weak. This thing could probably use a good BEC, but it'll probably go brushless at some point. Maybe a Tekin setup, or probably it'll be the Castle Mamba X. I've got one already, but it's in my bomber. Like I said, I'll show you all that in a little bit. But I like it so far, so I may put it in here and get. I probably won't go with a slate motor because I'm not running 6S on this thing. I know those things are capable of 6S, so you're not supposed to do it. But like people like Kevin Talbert, I never can remember his last name. I apologize. But he's run 6S on his. I believe his is in the TRX4, or it used to be a long time ago. I haven't really kept up with a whole lot of videos here recently, except for Medic, RC Sparks, and Scale Builders Guild, and Harley Designs. Those are really the main ones that I've been watching here recently. I'm still not sure if I'm really into the whole crawler thing, honestly. I like the aesthetic of them, and forgive me for this travesty, but they just look good on the shelf. I like building them, and then I put them up. I don't run them. I don't know why. I'm more of, I guess because my first RC was an Emax, which you can see on my channel from 6 years ago. Good Lord, I can't believe I've been in the hobby that long already. I feel like I haven't done hardly anything. But I like, 1/8, 1/10 monster trucks. I like bashing. I like beating the crap out of my stuff. And these crawlers, I know I can do it, but I don't like to. I don't know. This one I can though, because it's just literally parts thrown together that I had. I wanted to do something with the axles, and I just had a trashy, junky chassis laying around. I mean, you can see the paint's come off. I've actually cut this chassis once and welded it back together right there. I had a piece welded up here at one point for another rig that I cut off and had to clean up this whole chassis and drill new holes through the welds that were there from someone else that I got the chassis from. It was a mess. I did do this little rear bumper. I don't really call it a rear bumper. I made it to fit my SCX-102 Cherokee body. But it fits the Summit body all right. The width is good. It is out a little too far. And I'll probably end up cutting it off. I do plan on extending the chassis so I can run a normal SCX-10 bumper on there at some point. But for now, I figured, this would work. And you can see here, too, where the chassis has been cut. It's hard to do this. So, like, right there. Let me see if I can. There we go. So, you can see there where the lower piece has been cut out. I did do that for some reason or another. At this point, I don't remember. I do have another chassis. I had a full chassis that I actually cut in half for another cool rig that I'm currently working on. But these are what was left over, and this is probably what I'm going to use to extend this. Because I bought a brand new SCX-102 chassis that had all the plastics on it because I needed these, and the price for these, brand new in packaging from Axial, was the same price as the chassis that I found that was brand new off of eBay. I only paid like $30 or $40 for the whole chassis and all that. It literally didn't have anything but the side plastics. It had the front and rear bumpers. It came with screws to mount a bunch of stuff, which I just threw in my screw bin. Came with the parts baggies, and that was it. But I didn't want to tear up. I didn't want to cut up that brand new chassis. I couldn't do it. So I'm gonna do another build with it at some point. Probably like I want to do a street truck. I really want to do a solid axle, or rear solid axle, independent front street truck, really badly. And I'm gonna use my Proline Dodge body there that I had at one point. You'll probably recognize that one. I had it as a crawler at one point. I think that was actually this chassis. Yeah, that was this chassis that I used at that point when I had that rig set up. But I really wanted to put a Summit body on here, and the wheelbase was almost exactly the same. But I swapped it to Wraith axles instead of the SCX-10 axles because I'm using my SCX-10 axles for another project that I mentioned a few minutes ago. So I'll probably show you all that one here soon. But yeah, so nothing super fancy with this one. Excuse me. I don't have the coronavirus, I promise. I'm just constantly clearing my throat. Been doing that for several years now. You can see that throughout my videos for the last several years. I'm also trying to get my laptop set up because I would like to start editing some videos finally, learning how to edit. As well as some 3D printing. I'd like to get into 3D printing. So I can make custom stuff like bumper mounts and body mounts and stuff like that, so I don't have to use body posts. I'll grab this one real quick because this one's pretty basic. Here we go. So this is my very, very beaten up eRevo. This is the V1. It's nothing special. I mean, seriously, it's got the eRevo wheels or the Emax brushless wheels. Proline tires. These are the mashers. I took it out for a bash, and I guess they weren't glued very well by whoever glued them. I did not glue these on. So I'm going to take them off, clean them all up, and re-glue all the wheels. Well, 3 of them, because I did glue one, because I pulled the tire off and was going to put these tires on another set of wheels that have more of an offset, because I don't like these wheels. But I went to the hobby shop about an hour away from me, and they had a full set of the oh well, I didn't notice that happened. Oh, I'll have to get my fan. I didn't notice that. Sorry. I went to the hobby shop, and they had a full set of these Proline mashers, and so I just bought those brand new in the packaging and put them on the wheels that I wanted. And those are currently on my new Summit, which y'all haven't seen yet. Anyways, this is one of those cages you can get off of eBay for like 25 or 35 or 40 bucks, something like that, from China or whatever. This whole cab section here is actually from factory. Is this A-pillar is like right there, and I didn't like it. It had the cab too far back. It just looked very, very weird. So I cut it all off, moved it forward. It had this X piece in here that I cut out. I'll eventually put that back in there, but I don't know what that is, and I don't care. Anyways, I may make another one at some point, but I gotta do some more work to this cage first. It was good, and just before they started really enforcing the not curfew. We don't have a curfew yet here in Alabama, but at least not yet. I'm sure they'll do it. But I went out to the park at 1 or 2 in the morning, so that way nobody was out. And the park that I went to is more of a landmark than a park. It's not. There's really. You can walk around it, and it's maybe like a quarter mile to walk around it. I doubt it's even that. It's a monument, really, is all it is. A little monument park there, but they've been doing some work over there and to the streets, and so they've got huge, like 12-foot tall piles of gravel, and I just could not help myself. So I took this thing over there and I gave it a thorough bashing. As you can tell, the cage is no longer attached. I did not take that off. It actually bent the mounts. You can see there, it's rightfully bent. It's supposed to be flat because it mounts where the bumper mounts, but I didn't have bumpers on here. I had cut some bumpers just for the little plastic piece there. There we go. So I cut some bumpers just so I could have this little plastic piece to mount through, so that way it wouldn't crush that tab and that tab in. But I don't run a body on this thing. I really like the look of this cage without a body, and so that's why I took the body posts off of it. I may actually cut these down at some point because I really don't need them. This one I don't know, I'll probably just end up cutting the squares off there and be done with it. Really, these don't do a whole lot other than, these don't do a whole lot other than hold the bumper and the body, and then it holds the pins in on the front and the back there. And that's really all they do, so I may cut them down, I don't know. And they do act as a small spacer between, good Lord, I cannot get this camera right tonight. So this also acts like a spacer to go between the chassis and the bulkhead. I believe it does that on front and rear. But so it's got Savox servos as well, waterproof, SW0231MG. I gotta figure out which one's acting up. I stripped one of them, so I gotta get gears for that. Castle Sidewinder 8th motor, 2200 kV, nothing fancy. And then Hobbywing Max 8. There we go. Hobbywing Max 8 ESC. Or Max 6. Sorry, this is the Max 6. But it is 8S capable. I forget how many amps it is. I think it's like 160. Don't quote me on that because I do not remember. I am running in series, I believe. Yeah, series. I think so. But I run it on 6S. I don't run it. I've only run it on 8S once, and as soon as I took off, I didn't even take off full throttle. The rear diff started clicking, so I quit and just kept it at 6S, and it runs good. It still clicks in the rear. I'm gonna have to put a rear diff in it soon. When I'll probably get some of the Leading Edge Machining stuff, or LEM. If you're not familiar with them, check them out on Facebook at Leading Edge Machining. They do really, really good machining work for things for the e-Revo and the Summit. Really the entire Revo platform that uses, the same diffs. It'd be the Summit, the e-Revo, the Emax, the Revo 3.3, the 2.5, I think. And the Slayer as well. They make diff cups for all of those that get rid of a lot of the really bad tolerances. And I've actually run a set in one of my Summits. And they do more than just the diff cups too. They do hardened gears and all sorts of stuff. So shout out to them, because they are doing God's work just about. But anyways, back to the topic at hand. I'm running the Hot Racing Gold Springs up front, and that's just because I haven't put mine in the rear, because my brother has my rear set on his Summit right now. But I did get him another set of springs that are they're from Tractor Supply, and I keep forgetting to get the damn part number for you guys, because those springs are awesome. The only thing you have to do is Dremel the inside of the spring out just a little bit to fit over the shock collar there and here. But that's it. They're super strong. I mean, they're miles ahead of the Gold Hot Racing springs, and these are the best you can buy from my knowledge. At least they were a few years ago. I doubt anybody's come out with another set. But it's a good rig. The door doesn't stay closed, and that's because of how my speed controller is mounted. It's just got a screw, literally a single screw holding it on. Because it does have 4 screw holes in the bottom of the ESC there. But it's got the whole thing distorted, and that's kind of one of the things I want to 3D print is a mount for that. Anyways, so there's that. I got to get that squared away at some point. And it does have the Traxxas CVDs. They're good. I did have a problem there for a little while where I had one on the rear keep coming undone, but that was because I didn't have my pillow balls for the knuckles set up right. They were out too far, so when this thing would either go full compression or full droop, it would, so either full droop or full compression on the rear, I believe it was that side, it would pop out, and I would have 3-wheel drive, and it was just a massive pain in my butt. So I'm going to show you my Summit real quick, because this thing is nuts. It's heavy. Now, mind you, I did not build this for the most part. I did do the wheels and tires, and I've had this body on here for a long time, but I did not build this rig. I think all I did was I did the wheels and tires, the body, the servo for the steering, and the motor and speed controller. That's all I've done. So basically the electronics as well as wheels, tires, and bodies. But I did not build this rig, though I do like it. So this is my new Summit. It's the this is the Proline Jeep Cherokee body, not the Axial body. It is a bit short, but it's made more for the E-Max, because the E-Max is a little bit shorter wheelbase than the Summit. You can see here, like, the rear is just about lined up, but the front is way off. So I'm going to pull the body off for you real quick. And then after this, I'll end this video, and I'll do another video on my last 2-3 rigs, something like that. And this body, I saw this from RC Sparks. Did the Gorilla Tape on the inside. It deadens, excuse me, deadens the sound of the body. I mean, you can. You can tell it sound. If you know what the sound of Lexan sounds like, you know that sounds different. And it kind of it helps against tears and stuff like that. Which the Summits, they're all right. You don't really tear bodies that much, but this one I am going to kind of beat a little bit. So like I said, I did a servo. I think that's a Savox servo. I don't remember. Yes, it is. It is the Savox Digital SW1210SG. Servo. It's an alright servo. It's my brother had bought it, and we didn't know if it was going to work in his Summit, so I ended up having the Savox 1230 SG servo. It's a non-waterproof that I waterproofed, and so I just gave it to him to put in his Summit because both of his stock servos died. Shocker. But I had it laying around, and I just went ahead and threw it in here. I haven't driven this rig yet, but it's going to be awesome. I already know that, and that's partly due to the RX-1. I know it's old school. RX-8 Gen 1. So it's the RX-8 from Tekin, the first generation model. I know we're on the 3rd generation now, but excuse me, I got that motor and that ESC brand new 2 months ago, still in the box and everything. I still have the box right here. I mean, it was all brand new. It was sealed and everything when I got it. Got it from a hobby shop for $200. Not a bad deal. Everything was in it. Nothing was missing. It was sealed. My local hobby shop closed several years ago, or 2 years ago, I believe. And so he just had it laying around. And since I know the guy that owned it, I told him that I wanted to buy some stuff to kind of help him out. I know they've been going through some tough times. And so he let me come up there, and I bought like $1,000 worth of stuff from him, including one of my new rigs and some parts and all that. But anyways, this thing is all sorts of kitted out. It's got aluminum knuckles. You can see there it's got aluminum hubs. It does have aluminum A-arms, front and rear. Aluminum shock towers, front and rear. Aluminum skids. Aluminum skid plates. Aluminum servo saver. Aluminum skid plate. I mean, and this thing, you see, there's like virtually no scratches on it. It's got these really cool piggyback shocks. I don't know what brand they are. They're probably some off-brand or Inchgy or something like that. But it only had the 2 of them, which kind of saddens me because these feel like they don't have any oil in them, which I'm fairly confident they don't. But I haven't, like I said, I haven't tested this thing out yet, and it feels kind of nice, honestly. I mean, I'll put some oil in it, but I had some stock rear shocks that were brand new. I think it's the one. Yeah, he basically. So I got this thing on a trade. I got like 3 bodies for it. The 3 or 4 sets of tires. It had all the stock electronics were in it, and had the metal bumper. It had that bumper on there on the front, and then rear bumper was metal as well. It's in my toolbox. I don't really like it. But I like the Proline. This is one of the Ridgeline bumpers. This is the wide bumper. I've had this thing for ages. I've had this thing since 2014, and I absolutely love it. I've never had a problem out of it. Not running a front bumper because the Proline body isn't really that long, and the bumper sticks out like that far, and it doesn't look good. So I don't run it. But I mean, he did all sorts of stuff to this thing. But this guy, so a guy had bought this thing brand new from a hobby shop about an hour away from me, an hour and a half away from me. It was an older gentleman. He bought this thing and loved the way it looked. And then spent more money at the hobby shop on all these aluminum parts. Got hot racing rockers. Bought like 3 different sets of shocks for this thing online. And this had two different brands of shocks on it. So I don't know what happened to these front ones, or the matching for the rear. He may have just ordered one set. I have absolutely no clue. But this thing also had that cage on it that I have on my Revo, and it had this mess of wiring. I mean, it was like he had this, all of this that you see here came off of that cage. It was a wiring nightmare. There was no tube, no straight or curved piece of metal tube on there that did not have a wire hanging off of it. I mean, it was just, he had everything zip tied, but it was just awful. Because one of the other bodies that came with it is this one here, and it's got TRX4 lights in the bumper. It's got these Integy lights here. It's got some lights up top. It's got lights on the back. It's got the TRX4 tail lights that he put in. And don't get me wrong, he did a decent job with it, but it was just so much power being used, and I couldn't have that. Especially running off the stock electronics and the stock BEC. I'm sure that thing wasn't happy, but he never ran it. He didn't want it. He wanted a shelf queen, so he built him a shelf queen. And I keep forgetting about these, the aluminum servo protectors too. I mean, this guy went nuts with it, and then he traded it to he traded or sold it to another guy that's a buddy of mine, and he ran this thing a little bit. And then he didn't really like it, and that's because it had the stock electronics in it, and it's now super heavy, so it was even slower with the stock electronics, i.e. the stock servos. The stock servos did not like all this weight, I'll tell you that now. I did test it before I bought it, and it did not like it. And the stock speed controller got hot quick. Never hit the overtemp, the what do you call it, overtemp protection. But it got pretty warm, and the motor got pretty warm and was probably actually cooking itself at some point. So I went ahead and threw that motor out, cut the leads off of it, threw it in the trash, because I don't ever use them. But I installed the RX-8 Gen 1 along with which I think this is, the 2000 kV Truggy motor, I believe. It's the longer can motor, which you need for the Summit. It's not the shorter one. I forget why you need the longer one, but the longer one is what you need. You want the longer motor, the Truggy motor. And there's several different options as far as kV that you can go. This one I think was rated at like 4S, and that's what I plan on running it. This is not a 6S rig. I have run a Summit on 6S, but I never would do full throttle stuff. Just because I know the diffs don't like it. These diffs need to be gone through and had leading edge machining stuff put in them. I just gotta get the money to do that, because it's going to cost me a good chunk to do that. But it's well worth it, especially if you get their bag of shims, the new diff cup, the hardened spider gears. I mean, and not to mention the $150 for the complete aluminum drive shafts or axles. Sorry, a complete aluminum axle set. I mean, those axles are amazing. I cannot wait to get like 4 sets of them. But anyway, so same as the Revo. It's got the mashers from Proline, 3.8 series or 40 series, whatever you want to call it. Stock geode wheels. Don't have the rings on them because the rings, I can't get my rings to fit inside these tires. But I glued them all. I painted the wheels black. I like the look of it better. I I don't really know anything else. Oh, so I keep forgetting about this. So these are the springs I was talking about from Tractor Supply. They're literally just silver springs. If you have a Tractor Supply near you, or some hardware store similar to Tractor Supply, maybe Menards up north. I'm not quite sure. I don't know about Lowe's. I haven't tried Lowe's. But take just a stock spring off the Summit or eRevo shock. Take it with you to one of the hardware stores and see if they have them. I know at Tractor Supply, it's a clear bag with a yellow, with the top of the bag is yellow, and it has all the info on it and whatnot. These are perfect. They're super strong. I mean, it takes a lot just to get the spring cup back on after you get everything dremeled out. And I think these are actually trimmed down. I think I trimmed these down. So on one side it's got the flat bit, and as well as on this side. So on this side it's not flat, and you can tell, especially there, that I had to cut some of it off. I think you have to, because I think they're actually just a touch too long, unless you can get them to compress and put those on, but you may risk damaging stuff internally on these shocks. But they work awesome. I mean, this thing, I need to tune them. Don't get me wrong, I need to tune them. But this thing does not squat near as bad as even with the hot racing springs. And they still allow for some flex. They don't overflex, which I really like that. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, you need flex sometimes, but sometimes you don't need all that flex. And a lot of that flex will hurt you, especially on the Summit. If you've ever owned one, you'll know that crawling with it can be awesome, or it can be an absolute nightmare. Yeah, this video's gone on long enough. We're not a little over, just a hair over 32 minutes. So I'm going to put the body back on. Get everything situated on this thing. And probably go to bed, because it is late. It is, I mean, we're talking like, well, I can't, it won't let me say it, so, oh well. Here we go. It is currently 3:54 in the morning, so I'm going to pack it in, go to bed, so I can get up tomorrow and do this quarantine shit all over again. Oh, shit, almost dropped it. I'm about to drop it. Urgh. Yeah, this thing, it's not going to be a shelf queen anymore. I mean, it is on a shelf, and it is shiny, and it is pretty, but it will get driven at some point when I finally decide to take it out and drive it. But yeah, so there you go. There is most of the collection there. I'll get to that one. And the one over on that shelf, well, the two over on that shelf. There's one on the bottom, one on the middle shelf there. I'll get to those in another video, because this one's gone way too long. So, I'll catch you guys later. And, why don't y'all go over and check out Medic's page if you haven't. I'm sure most of you that, or all of you that have seen my channel, surely know about RC Sparks or DJ Medic 2008. I mean, you can look that up on YouTube. He is the biggest YouTube channel for the radio control hobby, as far as I know, as far as I can remember. He's been doing it for, oh god, 10, 12 years, something like that. 2008, I think is when he started. I can't remember. But he's been doing it a long time. He is our veteran, and he is the one that got me into this beautiful hobby. I absolutely love it. I've met tons of people doing this. Me and my brother get along better since we started doing this. My wife doesn't like it so much. That's just because I spend money on it, obviously. But it gives me something to do when I'm quarantined, apparently. So, I guess do like Medic says. Go outside and have fun with RC. I'm not trying to steal his catchphrase, I promise. It's with all due respect. So, I'll catch you guys later.